Good evening. Yeah, so.
We're, yeah, we're looking at like the rules.
Self-situated over there. Everyone will please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, October 18th, 2021 Board of Supervisors of New Britain Township Business Meeting. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss land acquisition, litigation, and personnel issues. Might be strong. Let's see, first item on the agenda is the chair comments. The only comments the chair would like to make is in relation to our new business meeting. I know that last week we may have, or the last time we had a business meeting, it may have gone a little too quick for some. We are aware of the fact that while trying to start a new procedure, sometimes there are bumps in the road, and we are going to do our best to fix those bumps and make this as smooth and open process as possible. Those are my comments. Next on the agenda is public hearing.
No public hearing this evening?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. So at this time, public comment will either be on a item that is not on the agenda, or if someone has a public comment on an actual agenda item that is under the action items section of our agenda, you will then be given an opportunity to have that public comment during that specific action item. Are there any non-agenda item comments this evening? If you could please stand and give your name, you know the drill.
Bob Byrne, 245 Forest Park Drive. I'm actually making a comment for a different resident, friend of mine, Daryl Peterson. He lives at 202 Cornwall in Brighton Farms, and he had an issue with Aqua, the work that's being done there. It's in front of his house. They put in a new fire hydrant. They tore out the curb. They replaced it with macadam. At this point, they said they're going to repair it. He just wanted me to bring it to the attention of the board that there is an issue there, that he wants to make sure that the curb is replaced appropriately, and he is not charged in the future to replace it.
Okay. Just who?
Bob, if he has, do you have my email? Or
Yes.
Margaret has mine,
Yeah.
have him send me an email and we'll
Okay.
document it through that.
All right, that's
You can
great.
send it directly to us and we'll make sure it's noted and sent off to Ryan and everybody to pay attention to.
Okay, fantastic.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, because I know that on my street, they put up like pikes because they've broken curbs. They told the homeowners that they will come back and fix them, but I think maybe they'll follow up on that. With Aqua, just make sure they're gonna come out and do all the curb work that they plan to do.
Before it snows. too.
Huh?
Hopefully before it snows. too.
Yeah. Well,
Are there any other public comment on non-agenda items? Michael, is there any comment?
Getting a couple more people in, give me a moment. I don't have anyone with a hand raised at this time.
Okay, very good. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the action items. We have our first motion of the evening. This is a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the September 27th and October 4th, 2021 Board of Supervisors meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
We have a first and a second. Are there any comments, amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the motion to approve the schedule of bills. In front of you, you have 4 separate bills. Bills dated October 1st, 2021, October 7th, 2021, October 8th, 2021, and October 13th, 2021, in the amount of $109,041.22. Is there a motion to approve the schedule of bills?
I so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Are there any questions or amendments to the bills? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the motion to approve the consent agenda. So at this time, I will take a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda that is dated October 18th, 2021. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Are there any comments or questions about the consent agenda? Sensing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, let me just move along here. Yep, that's fine. I'm trying to do this as organized as most of this stuff is all administrative as it is anyway, so. The next on the agenda or motion is the motion to waive fees for the Chalfont New Britain. New Britain Township Joint Sewer Authority. I hate that acronym, it's so long.
Yes, it is.
Zoning hearing board application. Matt, if you'd like to explain that, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The township has received a request from the executive director of the Chalfont New Britain Township Joint Sewage Authority. They are asking that the board consider waiving the fee of $1,200 for the residential application fee. There was also a memo included that explained that the CNBTJSA is preparing to submit an application to the zoning hearing board for their proposed pump station project. And they want to use, the use is under G1 zoning. Use at G1 is permitted by special exception within the CR zoning district, and they are planning on submitting their application for the zoning hearing board meeting scheduled for November 18th. So they are requesting this waiver of the non-residential application fee tonight, so they can make their application by the end of this week to be able to get on the November 18th zoning hearing board. Staff recommendation is that we have no opinion on the matter and will defer to the board's discretion.
Does that include the fee for the court reporter that appears? That's usually
I
included.
believe the court reporter fees are in excess of $1,200 typically, and so I don't, those fees are typically.
Yeah, it does, the fee that we can charge for the zoning hearing board, half the court reporter appearance fee, we can push off to the applicant. So what these fees are supposed to cover is advertising and notice costs, cost of the room, half the appearance fee of the court reporter. What they do not cover is a fee for the zoning hearing board solicitor. They do not cover if someone orders the court, the transcript, they don't cover that. So.
I have no problem waiving the fees as long as we're not paying it out of pocket. If we're paying it out of pocket, then I think they should pay their share, whether or not it's the whole fare, but just waiving the application fee. If we're paying for newspaper advertising, we're paying for a court reporter, and the township's bearing that cost. I don't think it's fair to waive our out-of-pocket costs. I know-
I think in the past, the reason we have waived them is because the tax residents, the taxpayers, and the ratepayers are the same people. So you're gonna take it out of one pocket or the other.
So everybody that pays Chalfont New Britain Joint Sewer Authority lives in New Britain Township.
But no, but I'm sure if they have to go to Chalfont or something, they might get waived, but
I understand that the process of we don't usually charge governmental agencies permit fees and that sort of thing, because it's taking it out of the pocket, but this is really coming out of the pocket of the taxpayers of New Britain Township solely for another governmental agency. And although I don't have a problem waiving the, shall we call it the overhead costs, I have a problem waiving the out of pocket. I don't think our township should bear those costs exclusively.
I am in agreement with Helen. It's been standard practice that if our own sewer authority that our name is part of, that we send board members to, asks to go before the zoning hearing board and requests that we waive the fee. It is something that we've, as standard practice, have done. Much like if, you know, the fire company or the ambulance service asked us to waive a fee, we would do that as well. So seeing as it is, again, a board that is comprised of members that we send township residents to serve on and run, I think it would be appropriate to waive the fee as we have always done. So that's just my 2 cents.
Since it's in that part of the new part of, not new part, in the part of New Britain Township that is, we're trying to extend the sewer authority in that area. It's in the, what's the word,
It's
transitional
a
area.
transitional area that's
Yeah,
under
then I
service at this
would
point.
say, I would approve the waiving of the fee.
Okay, so I'll take a motion then.
I'll make, go ahead, Helen.
I will make a motion that we waive the fee for Chalfont New Britain Township Regional Sewer Authority.
I have I know it's a tongue twister. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any other comments or questions? Public, is there public comment on this agenda item? No. All right, I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Nay,
All right, we have a 3-1. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the motion to adopt resolution 2021-26, which I will actually turn over to the chief for an explanation.
Yes, so I was approached by the coordinator for Bucks County's Youth Aid Panel, asking if we'd be willing to join Central Bucks Regional Youth Aid Panel. So therefore, it's required by their manual, their SOP, that the Board of Supervisors adopts a resolution that says we will be part of the Central Bucks Regional Youth Aid Panel. I feel that this is an additional tool that we can use when dealing with youth that are engaged in criminal activity that at a lower level. And one of the, there are criteria that they have to meet in order to be part of the youth aid panel. One is that the victim would have to agree to them being on, sent to the youth aid panel. It's the success of youth aid panels are kind of mixed. It really is determined by how involved the parents or guardian are in the actual process. Coming from my previous department, we didn't have that kind of success. Here, I feel that we would have the support of the families, and a support network that would be beneficial for youth aid panel.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions to the chief?
I have a question. So does that, by being part of the youth aid panel, do you supply anybody to be on the panel, or what's the involvement?
Yes, we would be required to recruit 2 volunteers. Typically, they can't be any of you, can't hold over an office. Typically, there are lawyers that have to do some additional pro bono work, I guess you could say, that will volunteer to be on these types of panels, or you get leaders from within the township, either business owners or school teachers, things like that. So we would have to recruit and and have 2 volunteers be on the panel.
So then do you need to implement some kind of recruitment or
So, yeah,
application for
they
that?
provided me with the kind of the advertisement type
Okay.
thing, and then we would vet them, do a background check on them, because they would be dealing with youth. They have to meet all the background check requirements. And again, they have a whole policy manual. They actually go through training. So it's all outlined in their policy manual.
We did have one here years ago, and I was a member of that, but had to give it up when I was elected to supervisor. And we did have at least 6 or 7 people so that we could rotate if we had to, but there was a need, and there were people that were willing to step up and fill that, so I don't think you'll have any problem getting some people for that.
Good.
Questions? Nope. All right, so then we have before us a motion to adopt resolution 2021-26, New Britain Township joining the Central Bucks Regional Youth Aid Panel per the attachment. This time we'll take a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Are there any public comment? Any questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the motion to authorize purchase of a 2022 Ford Interceptor hybrid SUV. Chief, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yes, as you're all aware, we are budgeted $42,000 to purchase a new vehicle this year. My recommendation is that we go with this vehicle. And when we say hybrid, hybrid is a money saving thing in the future. Up front, we're paying a little bit more for the vehicle to get the hybrid option. However, for police vehicles with the equipment that's in them, typically they're left running. With a hybrid vehicle, when it's not occupied and it's put in park by the officer, basically the engine shuts down, but yet the electronics are maintained by the battery itself. So it's a fuel saving cost of, depending on how many miles we're putting on vehicles, you can have anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 fuel savings per year with a hybrid vehicle. So we're also asking in the 2022 budget to upfit this vehicle. And speaking with the dealership, the vehicle, given COVID and the backlogs and everything, the vehicle wouldn't even be available until April of next year. Therefore, Matt and I discussed that the money that's budgeted for this year to purchase the vehicle will have to be carried over to next year in the capital purchasing line item, so that we can then pay for the vehicle when it comes in.
Are there any questions of the chief? All right, so we have again, you have a motion to authorize the purchase of a 2022 Ford Interceptor hybrid SUV in front of you. I'll take a motion at this time.
So moved.
Okay, we have a first and a second, technically. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, good. All right, next item on the agenda, motion to authorize the state pension aid payments to the police and non-uniform pension plans. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The township received $155,858.55 in pension state aid. We got that about 20 days ago, and this is for 2021. That number exceeds the total minimum municipal obligation, or the MMO, for 2021 for both the township's pension plans. The total MMO for 2021 is $130,919. So staff is recommending to take that $155 and some change and apply that equally based upon the total percentage of the MMOs. So as an example, police pension is $113,000 and the non-uniform pension is about $18,000 in MMO, which totals about $131,000. The police is 86% of the total township MMO. And the non-uniform is about 14% of the total MMO. So since we received an excess of our minimum obligation, we are recommending that the board authorize staff to pay the extra into both the police and non-uniform MMO. Reason I'm asking for this authorization this evening is that once the township receives the state money, we have to deposit it into the pension fund within 30 days. So I need board authorization today. And the good news is that since we received in excess of the MMO, that means the township's obligation is zero. So it's another good way to keep paying forward our pension fund, and both of our pension funds are in really good condition. And this is just another good habit to get into.
I think it's a habit that we've had all along.
Yes,
So
yes,
I
agreed.
would definitely make a motion that we do that.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, the last action item on the agenda is a motion to adopt resolution 2021-27, the Bucks County 2021 Hazard Mitigation Plan update. And again, Matt, have fun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Bucks County Planning Commission has notified the township that they're working on a final completion process of the 2021 update to the county's 2016 hazard mitigation plan. Next step in this process is for each municipality in the county to formally adopt the plan via a resolution. The township did so previously in 2016 with the current plan. I did provide a hyperlink for those who are interested in looking at those details within the memo that I forwarded to the board. It's also part of the board packet that's publicly available. And, the staff is recommending to do this because it then enables the township to become eligible for grant dollars from FEMA.
All right, so you have your explanation from Matt. Is there a motion to adopt? Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or questions? Is there any public comment on this item? No. All right, I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, thank you. That concludes agenda item number 6, all of our action items for this evening. This time we will go to our information items, starting with Township Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to begin my report talking about the 2022 draft 2 of the budget that has been forwarded to the board this evening via hard copy. I will email it out to the board tomorrow morning as well, along with the attached memo. I am elated to report that we have a balanced budget recommended for adoption. It is not ready to be advertised yet. Still working out some things with the board. This is the first time that the board is seeing this updated budget since the last go round. If you would just take some time to review the budget that I forwarded to you, read through the memo that outlines the major differences between this version and the first draft. I am planning on making a public presentation on the preliminary agenda at the November 1st work session meeting. That's going to be more of a high-level discussion about major changes to the budget, with any final input that I receive from the board and the public being integrated into the final presentation to be given on November 15th, at which time I will ask for the board's approval to advertise and make for public consumption the preliminary budget for 2022. We are on track to pass the budget by December 20th business meeting. And I'm really excited about where we're headed. So I'm looking forward to presenting to the board in 2 weeks about the details of this budget and some trends that I'm seeing positive that we can continue to build on in the future. The second thing I'd like to talk about is the 300 committee. 2023, New Britain Township have a 300th anniversary. And so I was prodded by my assistant manager, Mr. Walsh, to put this on the agenda this evening, to bring it to the forefront, to talk about the 300 committee. The 300 committee was formed prior to my tenure, so I'm not familiar with how it was formed, who's on it, how many meetings and so forth. I'm putting this on the agenda this evening to bring it up, to reinvigorate that conversation. You know, as Mike and I have been talking about it, 2023 is coming quickly, and 300 is a big number. And so given that we are winding up the 2022 budget discussions, I wanted to encourage the board to consider allocating any money that you think that would be appropriate for the 300 committee in planning purposes. I don't have a number. I don't know what the ideas are. I mean, it can be a really big thing, or it can be a very simple thing. I haven't been included in any of it, so I'm kind of talking blind right now. I bring this up to encourage the board to consider allocating some sort of money in the 2022 budget for planning purposes. And that concludes my report. I don't know
May I
if
ask-
you wanted to discuss it now or ponder it. You know, it's
Well, maybe get some idea if Mike has, is there a committee? Are there people?
There
appointed?
is, it's a loose band of township residents. Most, I think the average age is, what would you say, Michael, 64? And I'm bringing the average down. That's
Okay,
about
so
it.
You're on the planning committee.
Yeah,
I would say, as it is a group of volunteers pulled together, I've asked Matt to bring this up because we need to start to formalize that committee and if this board wants to continue forward with that 300 committees, 300 anniversary celebration, we need to start formalizing that committee and putting some teeth behind it. Because if we don't start doing that now, we are going to be scrambling when it comes time.
Right.
So.
I guess, can I take the floor for 1 second? So no, it's all right. I was just so that everyone's, no, I want to fill you in on
Okay.
some of the. So we started meeting about 3 years ago, I believe it was, and we had very informal little roundtable discussions. You know, there were all kinds of different perspectives, you know, to what we should do. Some of it was, let's do an event a month for a year. Some of it was, let's focus on the big key events we already do and somehow tie that into the 300th anniversary. One of the other considerations is how do you celebrate the 300th anniversary? Do you lead up to the date? Meaning if our anniversary is July 5th, 2023, technically speaking, you would maybe kick off with a Christmas event next year. Now we're getting a little late in the game for that. Or do you treat it as a calendar year and start in January and go all the way to the following December, somehow ignoring the fact that the big date is in the middle of the year? So that's part of the vision issue. It's, what is
It's,
the,
I believe it's in July.
it's, yeah.
It's around July 4th. I don't remember the specific date off the top of my head without looking at it.
So the issue is that, you know, we always talked about it from a non-monetary perspective in the committee because it was still early. And then COVID kind of dropped a little bomb in the middle of all of that. And we are now really far behind. And so the question is how do we want to handle this? Do we want to go big? Do we want to go small? You know, there was talks about having a gala event at the shrine, if we could get them to agree to that, you know, black tie affair, all the way down to just, like I said, just focusing on, it was very broad. There was a lot of different things
Well,
thrown
it's
out there.
ideas thrown out.
Yeah,
So
so,
then you solidify it eventually.
right. So we are now in a position as a board where we have to give direction as to what we think, because like Mike and Matt both said, theoretically speaking, there should be money in the budget for next year. If we're going to hire an event planner, if we're going to start it at the end of the year, you know, how are we going to address these things? So just backing up, Mike, we really need to have some serious conversations about this over the next month and a half.
Oh, I think you need to solidify the committee, set a meeting schedule.
Yeah, but a committee's not gonna do any good if we
Don't
don't,
have any money.
well, if we don't have any money and if we want to do it low scale. Because literally you could spend close to $250,000 on a 300th anniversary if you want to go broad. If you want to stay small, you could probably spend under 100. So that's where you have to set a monetary.
If I can add to what Greg's saying, I think what we need from this board is a parameter to start with, that we can then appoint the committee, as you said, Mary Beth, and then work from there with the committee and say, this is our current price point. Can we do the things that what can we do within this price point that everybody wants to talk about doing? Does it fit? Can we make it fit? And then from there, the committee can say, well, we can't do this. If this is what you want, we need this. But we need a starting point when we sit with that committee to say, this is what we have. I think that's the main thing when I brought up to Matt. I'm just kind of looking for, when we meet again, we can have a hard conversation of, no, we can't have Bruce Springsteen at the fall festival.
Well,
I would want
in my humble opinion, I think the celebration should be inclusive of all New Britain Township residents, including those under the age of tux wearing age.
Kids look cute.
Oh, they do,
Yeah.
but most parents don't want to buy, never mind. So I think it should be inclusive of all the residents, and I frankly don't want to put a damper on the celebration, but I think we have quite a few other capital projects that could use $250,000. So I think we should be looking at something less than the spectacular and the Rockettes.
I'm not in disagreement that, you know, 50 is a big deal, 100 is a big deal, 250 is a big deal. I kind of used the analogy to Matt the other day. 300 is kind of like going to your 15-year high school reunion. It's not 10 and it's not 25, it's just kind of in the middle. So, but it is a big number too. So, you know.
We should definitely have a celebration. It should be an event tied to the fall festival. I don't know if we want to tie it to July 4th parade. A lot of people are out of town. You know, those are all things to consider, but maybe we could tie it to the Polish festival over Labor Day at the shrine. But yeah, we need to talk some money. There are some blanks in here that I'm not liking a whole lot for things that need to be done. So that's further discussion.
Well, I
I would say under 100, way under.
But I don't think that's what they're asking for. They are asking for us to budget what we would like to spend next year on planning
Okay.
the thing, not actually what we want to spend on
Right,
300.
but
So that's two different
if you're
things.
gonna hire an event planner, you're probably
then
looking
that's-
at 20
yeah.
grand or more, so.
So then from what what you guys have just said, it sounds like we do not want to hire an event planner. We should try to build more on what events we already have and make them more.
But the question then is for Matt is what kind of stress does that put on staff? And what kind of inefficiencies does that create in the building?
I
So
don't,
then that means we want to hire someone.
Right, so this
So
is
I-
where they can't do anything with a
Yeah.
committee until we all decide what we want to do.
I
'Cause
think
we
there
control
should
the
be-
purse strings.
I think there should be a planner because we know that planning these events puts a great deal of strain on our very minimal staff as it is, and that would be a great idea to take the, have someone to guide the committee with ideas.
Rather than a staff member.
Yes, and also someone to implement those ideas and to put certain, you know, make the committee members in charge of different areas. I think you need a, you know, the head of the octopus to direct the rest of the body. So I'm not opposed to hiring a planner.
So do we want to get some idea of how much a part-time planner would be for
I guess-
6 months?
So I was gonna suggest that we focus the conversation on how big of an ordeal do we want? Because if you then back,
I think that's event, Matt, event.
because then if you define it, you can then find the right size person to plan it. You know, if we budget $10,000 for a planner to do a small event, and then the committee says, hey, we want to bring in Bruce Springsteen, $10,000 isn't going to be able to get us to get to the expectations of that committee. So
What would staff's recommendation be for an amount to be budgeted for 2022 to begin the planning, hire a planner, et cetera?
I don't have that number right now. That is something that I can come prepared to discuss in 2 weeks. It was just kind of testing the waters here and seeing how much of a priority the board felt it would be. If yes, we can take the next 2 weeks and test those waters and kind of suss some ideas out and come more prepared for with a number for you to consider in 2 weeks.
Do you have any?
No.
No. I,
Ask for public comment.
well, yeah, I'm going to,
Okay.
I'm trying to, I mean,
Yeah.
did you live in the township for the 270? When was the last one we had, 250 or 275?
250.
250. Were you living in the township then?
Yeah, I've been here, what, 43 years?
43 years. So
But I don't know.
you don't.
I didn't.
I was gonna say, did you remember? I know they had educational events located throughout the township. I just,
No, I-
50 years ago.
yeah, do we have any records?
I was going to say, do we have?
The only thing I have is that little like ceramic disc of the seal that I have for 250th anniversary found it in my office.
Hmm.
The only thing I found. Okay.
You also, you're all talking about, worried about township budget money. You look into fundraising.
Yeah, we did talk about that as well, but it's a question of.
Gilmore's got a lot of.
Trust us, we're not blind to that.
I was gonna give you a recommendation. We did 100 years a few years ago on how we handle it, but I figured if I open my mouth, that's what's gonna happen. We started, I'll tell you, at the beginning of the year and celebrated, and we actually did something once per month for the employees. And it was that year we were celebrating, not the actual date moving forward, but we did small stuff too. I mean, you just can't spend that kind of money, at least on our end. But we try to do something nice each month. And started January, kicked it off. That this is our anniversary. We changed our letterhead, kept that around for a year and a half, whatever. But you know, we did celebrate a year at small events and cut down the cost of the budget. One big event's a big impact to anybody, whether it's us or everybody else.
Have we, considered reinventing the wheel, as we say, in biz?
Warrington did. theirs a
Have
couple
we,
years ago.
have we looked around to see what other townships have done?
A couple of years ago.
I know when we were doing this, like Greg said, 3 years ago, there were townships that we had reached out to. I would have to
There's
revitalize those.
booklets somewhere from,
I'm pretty sure Shell will have most of it.
yeah.
But like I said, I have to revitalize those conversations. I believe Warrington had a planner that, someone that planned and did the whole.
Their
event.
booklet was there, this thick.
Yeah.
It was a novel.
They have a little more money, just a little.
And then the South Fund had a 100-year parade, and Nancy and I sat in the back of one of our dump trucks and we were in the parade. And it was great though, because it was in the spring when they could get all the high school and junior high bands and
Yes.
whatnot. We can't do that on the 4th of July.
Well, we might be able to get some bands, you never know.
Yeah. I'm
And
sorry.
now those townships have finalized all those plans. They've done them, they've seen.
Yeah,
what-
yeah, they've all done, yeah.
But they've seen the results of who came, how the fundraising went, so perfect timing to revisit those other townships.
Public comment on this one. Good. ladies first.
Okay. We do have some historians in the area that have amazing pictures that go back through generations when their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents owned farms here. So I know that there are some of those people and they're on certain private Chalfont Facebook groups that do some sharing. So I know there's like a plethora of resources as far as that goes. And I like the idea of the informational because let's face it, you know, it's always nice to hear how this developed over time from where the parks were located and what kind of, what kind of festivities were taking place and maybe do like reenactments and things like that, so.
Kids games from from 300 years ago.
What's that?
Kids games and that sort of from 300 years ago.
The carousels, you know, like if you wanted to go back with like an amusement park, which could be like for all ages. Or...
I missed the fireworks at the shrine, but that's me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So one of the things to look into is Visit Bucks. So they provide funds, significant funds. We did a music festival in Doylestown. It's a week-long festival where we have music at local venues all week. And they Visit Bucks provided us with a significant donation because of the traffic that we created. So if you do an event during the year, 1, 2, whatever it is, that you kind of present it to them is that you're going to create buzz in Bucks County. It's going to create some kind of traffic. They're very happy to give you money to support that because it helps out the county itself. So they also have offer services, so you could look into that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any online public comment?
None at this time.
All right, very good. We kind of skipped it. I know Matt was like, please don't do it, but I have to open it to the board. Was there any questions for Matt on the working budget real quick? Are we good?
We need to digest them.
Okay, very good. All right, next on our agenda is the departmental reports.
Thank you. The departmental reports have been submitted and are a part of the meeting packet and are publicly available.
I like the new Chalfont Fire Company report. I like that. It's nice. Anyway, just personal comment. Sorry. Are there any comments or questions in regards to departmental reports? No. All right. Solicitors report.
Just an update on something that happened at an earlier meeting. County builders, the board approved a settlement agreement with them. County builders has signed off on that agreement with the changes recommended by the board.
Thank you. Engineers report.
The only update I have is that there's not a lot of land development coming down the pipeline right now, so I can focus on the budget and end of year activities. You got some smaller ones done last couple of months, but there's nothing more. We've got county builder settlement, High Point's not in any hurry, projects, they're working on that, but we don't have a lot that you'll be seeing in the near future. So from that perspective, I'm sure the staff's okay with that. We have a lot of other smaller issues that are really taking up staff time. I will admit that. I don't know if Matt's used to judging it, but I feel like there's a lot of complaints about the developments been built and a lot of residents, new residents, and there's a lot more than normal that I've seen, but there's not a lot of land development right now coming through.
What do you mean complaints from?
Just people come in there, especially ones with HOAs, they're not used to ever living in an HOA and what they do versus a township's role. People are buying, these really nice homes that expect everything to be perfect. It just seems to, over the last couple of years, even before Matt got here, that we're getting a lot more. We've had some new development over the years, some bigger ones too. So, some of them are addressed, some of them, it's hard to make everybody happy, but it's more or less educating them on what we can do, the township, and what the builder has to do, and what, is buyer beware kind of stuff. But ties along natural resources is a big thing. Your easements do create a lot more, issues with preservation, which is part of the Great Township, especially around the northern part. So other townships don't have those issues with property restrictions on larger lots. So second, third home buyers don't understand what they bought.
Yeah, brought that up when we were talking about the sale property, that there needs to be some sort of, no one seems to read their deeds, and I guess only attorneys read deeds and things like
And you guys
that.
are actually pretty proactive with the buyer disclosure. Most townships don't have that. You guys created that years ago. So there's not much more this township can do as far as getting people to read their information. That's all I have.
Any update on our bridges?
No, I mean, we discussed at staff level, but
Yeah, so we actually, thank you. We actually got word from FEMA that they've authorized reimbursement up to 75% of costs. We don't know that specific yet of what those costs can be. We're awaiting the kickoff meeting, and then we will be assigned a project manager. So we received that late last week. So we'll be working with the township engineer to identify best path forward, pun intended, for the Walters Road culvert.
we've had a few other same situations, other townships where they were kind of replaced in kind projects and then the storm. So this money, this is, I hate to say it's a similar project that happened in other rural townships where these culverts, small bridges were, significantly damaged. Some people have just done repairs, and maybe it's just a wing wall or gave baskets or something with the channel, but unfortunately yours impacted the roadway, which is a little more devastating than others, but not that it makes you feel better, but we're getting the same word now, and the fundings are coming in other townships, so we'll work with staff on that.
Guess I'll segue right into, do any other supervisors have any comments?
I do. I was out talking to some residents this weekend, and Hilltown Pike has been repaved, I think, I'm assuming by PennDOT. They have noticed that there is a significant lowering of the road, that now the manholes are maybe 1 inch to 2 inches above the road level, and also their driveways going into Hilltown Pike are also about a couple inches difference. They've said that they've tried talking to PennDOT, and they've basically said it is what it is now, but I'm finding it in disbelief that PennDOT would allow manholes to be a couple inches higher than the road on a state road. I'm assuming Hilltown Pike is a state road.
Well, they wouldn't save it if it wasn't. I'll tell you that.
Well, I know, but
And it shouldn't be that high, if that's what you're saying. No, that's not acceptable. But
I did take some photos of it.
I
that I
would
can
have,
share.
obviously, Ryan and Matt look at that. They can get us involved as needed, but
My first thing is gonna have Public Works Superintendent go take a look at it, put eyes on it, and then have him work his channels and see if we can come up to a solution.
I had said if all of the residents were to email the township to
Yes.
say that there's been an issue, so yeah.
Town trucks do not like.
That's right.
Yeah,
waste
exactly.
manholes.
Yeah. That was, I looked at it and I went, really, that's quite, and you could hear it as the cars were going over it, thump, 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 so, yeah, okay.
I have a comment in a similar vein. Matt and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. The same thing, a resident complained regarding the PennDOT paving, recent paving on County Line Road, that there was debris left over, and problems with that roadway. Did you have a chance to?
I did, and I couldn't find it. And so the best thing is if any resident has an issue like that, just to contact the township ASAP, so we can send our public works crew out to take a look at it. Oftentimes, it's easier for us to get in contact with someone at PennDOT or us to identify the issue. But if we don't know about it, we can't take action. So I drove through those areas. I couldn't find any.
Okay, all right.
What
Well,
kind of
maybe
debris?
they had cleaned it up. She said that they had left large chunks of asphalt from the old road in the roadway of, what was it, New Britain Woods Circle?
Yeah.
Was it Britain
So
Woods
when they
Circle?
milled, some of it broke off, and then they typically they'll do all the milling, they'll do all the paving, and then they'll come back and they'll clean up after the fact, just before they
Maybe
do
that-
the seal,
maybe
before they
that's
do the
what
tar seal on the road joints, so it's possible.
But I do agree with that. I talked to a lot of people who have had a complaint about this and a complaint about that. But my first question to them is, have you contacted the township? we'll know. So, well, that's step one.
Yes.
And then if you don't hear back from the township, get back to me.
All right, any other comments? Is there any old business?
No old business this evening.
Is there any new business?
No new business this evening.
All right, so prior to adjournment, I will announce that our next Board of Supervisors meeting will take place on Monday, November 1st, 2021 at 9 a.m. here in the Township Building. Agenda and meeting materials will be posted to the website prior to the meeting date at newbritontownship.org, as well as this meeting should go up within the next 24 hours to the Township's YouTube station, which I do not have that in front of me. It's YouTube /
Our YouTube channel is just New Britain Township.
just New Britain Township. So on that note, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you all. Have a good evening.